Hello, everyone, and welcome to the other side of the news. Today, we're going to look at a couple things on the Wall Street Journal opinion page. 7th of July, 2020. First thing we're going to look at is a letter to the editor, Lincoln and the Emancipated-Slave statue. I'm going to read this to you because it's a short letter, it's well written, and it makes the points that I think are important to be made. Ellen Guzlo and James Hawkins described the poignant origins of the Emancipation Memorial in Washington, paid for by the donations of newly freed slaves, a monument to our shared purpose in life and arts in the June 30th edition of the Journal. The story of the memorial's design is equally poignant. The scene depicted actually happened. Let me emphasize that. It actually happened. Admiral David Dixon Porter accompanied President Lincoln to Richmond to accept the surrender of the Confederacy and recounted the story in his 1885 memoir. Lincoln was recognized by hundreds of newly freed slaves who crowded him, crying, "Glory, hallelujah!" When one fell to the ground to kiss Lincoln's feet, Lincoln was embarrassed. Lincoln said, "Don't kneel to me. That is not right. You must kneel to God only, and thank him for the liberty you will hereafter enjoy. Liberty is your birthright. God gave it to you as he gave it to others, and it is a sin that you have been deprived of it for so many years." Admiral Porter wrote of that moment, commenting that in his mind he imagined shackles lying on the ground, shackles that Lincoln had broken with when he issued the Emancipation Proclamation. It was undoubtedly Admiral Porter's story that inspired the statue's design. That day in Richmond demonstrated both Lincoln's humility and the newly freed slaves' gratitude. Little more than a week later, Lincoln was dead. That was written by Joseph Wien from Chicago. He said it really well. It does depict something that really happened, and that does make a difference. It's not about Lincoln towering over the slaves. It's about that a lot of people, a lot of white people, also sacrificed their lives to free the slaves. We can't forget that. We have a shared purpose in this country, and a lot of people over the last 300 years have sacrificed a lot to keep America free and to keep America the best country in the world. If you don't think it's the best country in the world, then you need to go to that place that's better and live there. This is getting ridiculous. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at today is another opinion. Kipp Wokes Up by the editorial board. The greatest barrier to minority advancement in America is the K-12 education system. So it was dismaying last week to read that Kipp Charter Schools has decided to abandon its motto, "Work hard, be nice." Kipp adopted the motto when it was founded in 1994 as a way to motivate students and teachers to excel in an encouraging environment, but no more. In a tweet Wednesday, Kipp put it this way, quote, "We are retiring Work Hard, Be Nice as Kipp's national slogan. It diminishes the significant effort to dismantle systematic racism, places value on being compliant and submissive, supports the illusion of meritocracy, and does not align with our vision of students being free to create the future they want. This is woke nonsense." Today, the Kipp Network educates 100,000 students in 242 college prep public charter schools. More than 95% of the students are Black or Latino. Kipp has succeeded when so many traditional public schools fail precisely because it has high expectations for students. We hope Kipp isn't abandoning its rigorous instruction or standards, though the line about the illusion of meritocracy sounds a lot like George W. Bush called the soft bigotry of low expectations. The surest way to guarantee failure is to tell students their effort and behavior don't matter. A good contrast with Kipp was the statement last week by Eva Moskowitz, the founder and CEO of Success Academy Charter Schools in New York. Ms. Moskowitz announced measures to address concerns about racial diversity and prejudice, but she also reaffirmed the school's mission and values. Quote, "We seek to reverse racial inequity and upend power dynamics by equipping children of color with a world-class education," she wrote. The worst result for children would be for charters to abandon the high achievement and goals that spur success in school and life. That's the end there. And let me add a few things. this is really unbelievable. This is woke nonsense. Does anybody think that Chinese are inherently smarter than Americans of any color? No. The reason they do well in the education system, the reason Harvard has to have a quota, on Asian students coming in, is because Asians in particular work hard at education. They study. From being very young to very old, they study. They know it's about the amount of work you put in, not how smart you are. So that Kipp walks back their thing about work hard tells me that they don't care about black people. Because what are we going to have? If we're going to start telling black people they don't have to work hard to achieve anything in this country, then we're going to continue the racial differences that we've had. Nothing will ever get better. This is ridiculous. And in fact, I find this extremely racist. Kipp better wake up. Okay, we're going to read one more thing here. Where is it? Defend America's History. Okay, let's take a look at this. Defend America's history and retake its institutions. The country hasn't passed from great to evil in 20 years, but elites have failed and betrayed us. That was quick. At the end of the 20th century, the U.S. had won World War II and the Cold War, liberated half the planet from history's most dehumanizing ideologies, advanced a free market capitalism that has led more humans out of poverty than any economic system ever devised, and given the world the richest bounty of intellectual, cultural, and scientific capital since the Enlightenment. Americans could and did look at themselves and the nation they had built with immense pride. 20 years later, much of the country's political leadership, almost its entire academic establishment, most of the people who control its news and cultural output, and a good deal of its corporate elite view America as an irredeemably malignant force for enslavement and oppression, a uniquely evil power founded on the ideological of racial supremacy. These Jacobins demand that Americans repudiate most of the nation's history, tear down the icons of its creation, and engage in a cultural expurgation of its sins. Only 4 years ago, Senator Bernie Sanders, a man not noted for service of patriotic favor, visited Mount Rushmore and pronounced, "It really does make one very proud to be an American." On Friday, when President Trump made the pilgrimage, we were told that he was appearing, in the words of a CNN reporter, quote, "in front of a monument of two slave owners and on land wrested away from Native Americans," unquote. If the self-image of Americans a generation ago was that of a smiling GI receiving flowers from liberated people, today we're told it's a police boot stamping on a human face forever. What happened? We can hope that the present mania is part of the baleful consequences of the lockdown lunacy. If you've been stuck at home mainlining the distortions of the media for 4 months, your tolerance threshold for fiction has doubtless been raised. But the roots of the current insanity are more profound than the inch-deep scholarship of the sophomores now in control of America's newsroom. With hindsight, it's clear that America in 2020 was right for the kind of mindless Maoism that demands fealty to its gospel of ideological cleansing. The nation has reached a combustive moment. The rot in America's cultural institutions was spread for more than half a century by a self-loathing cultural establishment. Now it has matured amid a public malaise induced by 20 years of elite-driven political and economic failure that has undermined faith in the system that made America great. The cultural corrosion has been evident for decades. Perhaps what we should have seen better were its consequences. Generations of students fed a steady diet of critical race theory and post-colonial gender studies, all delivered in safe spaces protected by an intolerance of dissent, poured out of college campuses into the world, waving their white fragility texts like little red books. But they graduated into an America that has been convulsed by 2 decades of unaccustomed failure and loss. In 20 years, wars and foreign policy failures in Iraq, Afghanistan, and elsewhere, financial breakdown, and now the pandemic have exposed a hollow political leadership. All the while, the capitalism that has produced so much opportunity for so many has become increasingly a vehicle of power for a few. Mega companies in finance and technology have grown unchecked. The modern woke corporation publicly disdains and derides the values on which the nation and its profits were built, even as it pursues global opportunities at the expense of American communities. It won't be enough to reassert America's great historic virtue. It will require weakening the power of the totalitarians on campus, ensuring fair access for all voices on tech platforms, holding to account the lawless mobs defacing and defaming the nation's legacy. But it will also require addressing the rot in American capitalism, reining in the power of bloated monopolies, and ensuring that corporations prioritize Americans over the globalist progressive agendas. This is personal for me. I came to this country as that great American century was closing. Like millions of immigrants, I was drawn by the irresistible lure of a nation forged in pursuit of a universal idea had actually succeeded in achieving. Of course, we knew there was a sharp tear in America's vibrant fabric, a legacy of racial prejudice that mocked the ideals of the founding. But the nation's demonstrated ability to advance beyond that, to mend and to prove itself, makes America even more admirable. This country hasn't passed from great to evil in 2 decades. America hasn't failed, but Americans have been misled by inept and deceitful political leaders, deserted by predatory and mercenary corporate chiefs, and above all, betrayed by a parasitic cultural elite that exploited American freedom to trash the country. It isn't America's history that needs to be repudiated. It is the present. Hear, hear. Very well said. And on that note, I can't say anything else. Thank you for watching The Other Side of the News. I'll see you tomorrow. Remember to subscribe and like this video. Bye-bye.